Okay, so in Trig 5.3, we're talking about the sum and difference identities of cosine. So you see them in orange. So it's when you add two angles together or subtract two angles together. Okay, so we see cosine of whatever A plus B is, right? And so we can separate them out into two forms. So it's going to be cosine of A times the cosine of B. And then it's the opposite sign. So if we see an addition sign, notice now there's a subtraction sign. And then we see sine of A and sine of B. Okay. And then for the difference, right, we see a subtraction sign between A and B. So notice that it's still cosine A, cosine of B, but this time there's a plus sign. You can memorize this to the tune of Happy Birthday, right? Cosine, cosine, sine, sine, change the sign. Cosine, cosine, sine, sine, change the sign. So again, it's just a little tune to help us out. Okay. And so let's try two examples that will help us. Here they are. So here's the first one. We're going to find the cosine of A plus B, and we'll find the cosine of A minus B, given this information. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out cosine of A plus B, which gives you the cosine of A times the cosine of B minus sine of A, sine of B. And that's going to be my first one. We'll squiggle down the line. And then I'm going to figure out what the cosine of A minus B is. And cosine of A, cosine B, addition sign this time, sine of A, sine of B. Now, something to be aware of, be careful not to switch things around, right? If you accidentally on this side switch sines and cosines, it's fine, because things will stay positive if they need to stay positive. Here, it will make a difference. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out what I know. So I was not given cosine of A, so I'm going to leave that blank. I was not given the cosine of B, so I'm going to leave that blank. I was given the sine of A, so I'm going to write that as 2/3. And I was given the sine of B, which was negative 1/3. Over here, it's the same thing. I was not given cosines, but I was given both my sines. Okay, so how do I find the rest of my information? So I'm going to find out the first one. I'm going to find out what my cosine of A is going to be. So I have to remember I'm going to use this guy right here. And so I know that this is y over r. I know that A is in quadrant 2. So I'll put this information right here. So A's information. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. And I could use anything really to find the missing letter, but the Pythagorean is the easiest. So I don't know x. My y is 2 squared. My r is 3 squared. So 4 is equal to 9. I'll subtract, and I'm going to get plus or minus the root of 5. So what I'm finding is what the cosine of A is. Now cosine of A is in quadrant 2, which means that it's really a negative root 5. And then all over my r value, which is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace both my cosines of A with negative root 5 over 3. All right. I'm going to find B next. So I'll put B's work right here. So again, B's work, it's still y over r. This time it's in quadrant 4. And again, I'm going to say x squared plus, now notice I'm going to put my negative 1 in parentheses because I want to square both the negative and the 1. I'm going to subtract 1 to both sides. I'm going to get 8. And then I'm going to get plus or minus the radical of 8. I'm going to simplify that because it breaks up into 2 and 4. So this is really plus or minus 2 root 2. So the cosine of B, again, it's in quadrant 4, so this will be a positive 2 root 2 all over 3. So Again, 2 root 2 all over 3, 2 root 2 all over 3. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply. So the radical times a radical, this is going to leave me with a negative 2 root 10 all over 9. And then a negative times a 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive. So this will be 2 over 9. We can combine them to be one fraction. Bam. So this is the cosine of whatever a plus b is. We don't really care what a and b is. We just care what they equal to each other. And we'll do the same thing over here. So we should get a very similar answer. So I'm still going to get a negative 2 root 10. But this time I'm going to get a minus 2 as my second term. So negative 2 root 10 minus 2 all over 9. Cosine of a minus b this time. So very similar answers. We can't simplify this anymore. All right, let's try one more. Right, so this time, why don't you go ahead and try pausing the video and trying this one out and see how close you get to your answer. All right, so if you're coming back from pausing the video, you can see that I am plugging in my formulas. So I know I figure out what I have to find. Oh, that's a weird looking B. And I apparently cannot, oh, there we go. Cosine B plus sine of A, sine of B. So here's the first thing. Did you include the addition sign? Did you include the subtraction sign to where they needed to be? Hopefully the answer was yes. This time I was given the cosine of A. So it's a root 2 over 4. I was not given the cosine of B, so I'm going to leave that blank. I was also not given the sine of A, but I was given the sine of B, negative 3 over 5. So here it's still going to be a root 2 over 4 and a negative 3, oops, plus sign over there, over 5. Do not drop those negatives. They are important. Okay, so hopefully you found your A. And by saying the radical of 2 squared plus y squared is equal to 4 squared. So 2 plus y squared is equal to 16. Y squared is equal to 14. So we get plus or minus the radical of 14. We can't simplify that anymore. We're in quadrant number 4. So I'm finding the sine of A this time. So that means that this is going to be a negative root 14 over 4. So negative root 14 all over 4 for both of these. Okay, put B's work right there. So B, I'm going to take negative 3, square it, plus x squared is equal to 5 squared. If you recognize that this was a Pythagorean triple, good job. If not, hopefully you worked it out this way. And again, we get plus or minus 4. Again, we're in quadrant 4. I'm finding the cosine of B, so this will be a positive 4 over 5. So 4 over 5, 4 over 5. And now we'll just multiply together. So this will become 4 root 2 over 20. Negative and negative is positive. Positive times a negative is still negative. So this will be minus 3 root 14 all over 20. There's nothing else I can do with these. I can't combine them any further. So that's all I can do. Over here, it'd still be 4 root 2 all over 20. And then this will be plus 3 root 14 all over 20. Now, yes, you can simplify this fraction, but we don't want to because we want to write it as one giant fraction. And that's it. That's all you have to do.